Won't someone think of the machine guns? There's just under 176,000 known transferable machine guns in civilian hands in the United States as of February 24th of 2016. Our estimates put it at an attrition rate of about 600 machine guns per year fall off the registry for one reason or another. And my guest with us here today thinks that that number might be set to explode. We are losing machine guns, folks, and we're losing them every single day, and they're never coming back, most likely. What do you need to know to save the machine guns? Let's get into it.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the
Machine guns. So joining us here today to discuss about why we need to save the machine guns and what the heck is happening to them is noted firearm and ATF regulatory expert Mike Kwiatkowski. You can check him out at fflexpert.com, linked in the description box below. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
Mike, what's happening to the machine guns?
In most cases, what's happening are that people are they're doing truly stupid things. That's the very quick and dirty of it, but a lot of it is unwittingly. What's going on is that most machine guns are held by either members of the greatest generation who are rapidly passing on. In many cases, they captured these guns and brought them home, or by members of the baby boom generation who either inherited these or, back when it was still lawful, purchased them out of catalogs, things like High Hunter or even back of the old American Rifleman. And they have these, they got them papered or they got them amnestied into their name. They pass on and their family has no idea what's happening with them. They think it's a weird-looking handgun or a weird-looking rifle. One case that I've dealt with, and I say one, this happens over and over, the husband dies, the wife inherits everything. They never bother putting it into her name. She then dies. Now the kids are left looking at this strange gun. The gun was legal. It was owned legally. In the wife's name, being probably the executor of the estate, everything was fine, but then she dies, and now we have a bigger problem. It really boils down to a major lack of estate planning.
Major lack of estate planning, that's something that you and I have both seen that play out. I know you far more than I. I'm sure you've seen, unfortunately, a lack of estate planning. And it's not just a lack of estate planning. I mean, it is insofar as a comprehensive estate plan. And if you're in Wisconsin, that's something that my firm can assist you with, by the way. We have a wills, trust, estates attorney, so check us out in the link below. But for those of you outside Wisconsin, you need to get with someone reputable. You can feel free to reach out to my firm. I'll do the best I can to put you in touch with local folks wherever you may be. But is this also not an issue as well of attorneys just not understanding the laws?
That is a very common problem. I know that in many cases that I've worked on, including some that you have sent to me, the attorneys who were working with the family have no idea what this thing is. They don't want to deal with it, and most of them think, oh, this is just illegal, it needs to be cut up. And in reality, no, it's perfectly lawful and transferable, but the way that these attorneys are handling it and are coaching these families, those guns are getting cut up, and they're getting cut up all too often.
Right. I mean, and I've seen this too, because here's how my day goes, right? I mean, thankfully not every day, but I'll get this call several times each year, at least, I'll get a call from usually, it's about 50-50, whether it's an attorney or a family member. And it'll go something like this. Yeah, grandpa passed away, or that uncle passed away, or a distant cousin, or whatever the case may be. And hey, I was Googling it. Aren't machine guns illegal? Because I came across something that says that this might be a machine gun. And of course, we're going to get to the second problem coming up here in a bit. But this is for cases where they know it's a machine gun, right? Yeah, it's a machine gun, but like that's illegal. So we did do this, cut it up, or turned it in to law enforcement, or we're thinking about doing it because our attorney just says, you know what, let's just take all risk out of this, because attorneys, much like accountants, tend to be creatures oriented against risk. So whatever is the absolute lowest risk threshold, they will generally advise you to do. And there's lots of good reasons for that. But unfortunately, those good reasons result in mulched machine guns here. And it doesn't have to be that way, even if you are not involved in the creation of the estate plan, which is really number one. If you own these machine guns, if you own these transferables and NFA items, you owe it to not only yourself, your heirs, but also future generations. For God's sake, get estate planning in place to protect this. But even if you're the beneficiary or if you're connected to somebody who is, there may oftentimes be a lot of options about what you can do to rescue those in that particular situation. What are some of the things, white hat solutions, that you have seen out there? Because of course that's the only thing that we're talking about. That's the only solutions we're worried about. There's a whole world of illegal underground stuff that we don't deal in. We're not touching that. What's white hat solutions?
The first one is to get it in a will. You have a machine gun. We'll say it's a Thompson serial number 123. Name an heir. The one big benefit to naming an heir also is that it will go to them tax-free on a Form 5. If there is not an heir named, let's say it's still able to be legally transferred, taxes due, and it becomes a lot more of a headache. Name the heir. The second thing is to name multiple heirs. Let's say you leave it to Jimmy. Jimmy moves to a closed state, a state that does not allow machine guns. ATF will not approve that transfer. So we go to the second one, Jenny. Jenny got herself into some trouble subsequent to that will being created. She can no longer possess firearms. Who's your third person? I tell people to name at least 5. Someone may say, look, I pass. Or they may say, this person who has precedence below me wants it. They're willing to pay for it. I need this money for my home, for education, whatever it is. It works out better for all concerned. Now, this isn't to say that ATF is necessarily easy to work with when it comes to anything non-standard. They're tough enough to work with standard transfers. All the same, you're still not risking that gun meeting chop saws or cutting torches.
And if you've made it this far in the video, and if you didn't already know, the reason why we're talking about that is because you cannot manufacture any new civilian transferables post-1986, post-May of 1986. So there's a finite capped supply, which back in 2006 was estimated to be approximately 182,000 transferable machine guns on the NFA registry. And then we have a definite point of just under 176,000 as of February 24th, of 2016. So we see that there's an attrition rate of approximately 600 a year. But Mike, as you alluded to earlier on, and I want to circle back around to that, we know that those machine guns are not evenly distributed in the population, right? So to legally purchase and have transferred to you an NFA item, you have to be 21 years of age, you have to live in the right state, you've got to check all the boxes and so forth, right? But let's face it, how many 21-year-olds can go out there and purchase a transferable machine gun? A lucky few, right? The vast majority of these are going to have accumulated in the hands of folks who are older for 2 reasons. Number one, those people who are older have more money. That's the way it's always been. They've traded age for wealth. And if you can figure out a way how to trade that back, I'm sure they'd be happy to do so. But also then number 2 is the fact that, yeah, these things were all a lot cheaper yesterday than they are today, and they will be tomorrow, because I'm not even sure there's an exception to this. The long-term trend is always up as far as value goes, because we have an ever-increasing amount of demand with an ever-decreasing amount of supply, and basic laws of economics, you're going to see prices go up. So that means that we have a very unevenly distributed amount where there's so many machine guns concentrated in hands of folks who are north of 60, let's say, oftentimes perhaps much more geriatrically inclined, gifted with age, whatever the case may be. I'm sure Reagan's got a few good Reaganisms about this. But those people are really the safe guardians of this heritage of firearms, of machine guns, of NFA, both from a collector sense and in every sense of that term. Okay, so we talked about what they can do in order to try to preserve that. I want to steer briefly to the second type of scenario where a failure to even document your collection properly, so that maybe if firearms were transferred thinking that they were just regular semi-automatics, oops, turns out it was a full auto. What do you do if you're in a situation where you find out that the firearm that was transferred to you, whether on a 4473, a private sale, whatever the case may be, by grandpa years ago maybe? Is there any way to legally salvage that situation?
Well, before we go to that question, one quick clarification. You can actually be 18 and get NFA firearms. Like handguns, they cannot be purchased from a dealer by 18, 19, or 20-year-olds. In the case of all other classes of NFA firearms, they can file a Form 1 and make their own at 18. Or if they're buying an existing one or being willed an existing one, for example, a machine gun from an estate, they can be as young as 18 and take possession. Nothing wrong with that. In terms of problems that have already occurred, now we're getting very dicey. How long ago was it? And to back up even further, was this one where somebody bought, let's go back to our Thompson. Did somebody just buy it off the table at a yard sale? That is one thing. If it was transferred improperly in a family, and transferred improperly is just simply, here, take this and enjoy it, and then they discover that there's a problem with it, can that be redone or undone? Can that be fixed? Is the estate still open or is it closed? Is the estate administrator still alive? My nightmares are where it's been closed for years and the estate administrator is long since passed. That's where things get interesting, and that's where really we would spend an hour talking here and we wouldn't even begin to scratch that surface. So as much as I hate giving this answer, those people really need to give you a call, and quickly.
FFLexpert.com. Call Mike, not me. Okay. What other areas are there to your mind that come up that folks need to know about as far as these are ways that we're losing our heritage? These are ways that we're losing machine guns. What are something out there that people need to know about?
Let's say that you, and this is a scenario I've run into countless times. They go into the attic, they go into the basement, they look in the garage, they look in the barn, and there's that weird-looking gun. And somebody eventually looks around and realizes that this is a machine gun. Well, then it's a hunt for paperwork. And a lot of people don't know what the paperwork looks like. They might know enough, well, there's a stamp on these things. It's sort of like a postage stamp. Well, if it was an amnesty registration, that is the amnesty of 1968, there's no stamp on that paper. So they may be going through that and completely miss it. Another thing is that these stamps are tax stamps. It's not a permit fee. It is literally a tax paid. Many people put those not with their gun stuff, but with their old income taxes, property taxes, personal property taxes, anything like that. So going through those files is going to be absolutely vital. And if they don't know what they're looking for or what it would look like, not too many people know what, say, an original 1934 or a 1938 form would even look like anymore. This is something, again, give us a call. Check out fflexpert.com. Let's see if we can help you find these. If it's still not found, this is the time to involve an attorney. Are we at the point where the attorney needs to call ATF and see if this gun is even registered to determine, could it be transferred? If it's not transferable, which unfortunately is all too common, I personally believe that there's more than 10 guns for every papered gun out there, 10 contraband pieces. Is there a museum that's willing to take it? They can register it on what's called a Form 10. It is forever not transferable. And if you take a transferable gun and put it on a Form 10, it is no longer transferable. But it's a donation. That's a tax write-off. That's better than nothing. Last, if there's no interest, it's something relatively common, or worse, it's a basement conversion job. Is there any value in parting the gun out and turning in the receiver to the ATF, selling it as a parts kit? All of these are options, but most families, much less most attorneys, have no idea of what they're looking at and what they need to be looking for.
I can definitely attest to that fact as someone who I know a lot, but I also know a lot of what I don't know, and that's where you come in with those phone calls for me. So, folks, if you value the experts who the experts call, then you value guys like Mike coming in here. So let's thank Mike for coming in. Let him know in the comment section, do you want to see more of him out here? Do you also want to see him more by hitting that like button? Tell us and tell him you want to see him come back. Tell the algorithm you want to see more Mike. I, as well as Mike, look forward to seeing you in the comment section. Mike, thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for helping preserve what machine guns we have left.
We'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.